Hi, welcome to part 2 of my thoughts on Red Dead Redemption 2. Last time I discussed the world of Red Redemption 2 and how in order for Rockstar to tell a strong story, a strong world would have to be built in order for the story to work properly. And yeah, if you haven't watched that video, I think they nailed the world bit, so go and check that out.
It'll be an adventure.
So how does the story stand up to the awesome world which Rockstar crafted? Honestly, the story manages to surpass this world and become one of the best video game stories I have ever played through.
I know. I'm sorry for it. It's just... we lent Arthur some money, you see, and...
So it was you. You son of a bitch.
To be honest, just talking about the story could take up another few videos itself, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to end up droning on and on and on and on and on and on, and I have other games I want to talk about. So rather than going really in-depth to every little nuance and point of this story, or focusing on the mechanics of how the story was told and how much story missions progress, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the overarching theme and the message that Rockstar was trying to tell with this story.
I hear the last of them is holed up at Hanging Dog Ranch.
I don't have it in me no more.
If I try and focus on every individual character, I'll be here forever, and as I already said, I don't want to do that. Okay, so let's just start with a very brief overview of everything. The story of Red Dead 2 is told almost exclusively from the viewpoint of Arthur Morgan,
Good to meet you.
a member of the notorious Vanderlyn gang, led by Dutch Vanderlyn, who, if you played the first game, which I didn't, is the antagonist from the first game, so nice little whoop there.
You're okay.
For Rockstar to focus entirely on one character was a really interesting choice given their recent history. With their previous game, GTA 5, the story centered around 3 characters, whose lives become increasingly entangled as the story progresses. The players could switch between each character at will, each telling a different part of the overall narrative. For the developers to change this tactic and focus entirely on one viewpoint has allowed them to really close in on the emotions and the inner turmoil which develops within Arthur as the game progresses. Something I don't think would have been possible in GTA, at least not without the story being 200 hours long.
Making money, but for us all to leave together, we need...
Because of this solo viewpoint, us as the player can really empathize with Arthur and those around him.
Australia or Tahiti. We just need to pay for passage and give him money for land when we get there. No questions asked. We will disappear, be reborn.
Where the hell is Tahiti?
South Pacific, an untouched paradise.
Who lives there?
Tahitians, I guess.
The main characters within Rockstar games always lean more towards being anti-heroes. Mostly because they are trying to subtly make fun or parody a particular genre or pop culture reference.
Think we was fixing.
But that really wouldn't have worked in Red Dead 2. The developers aren't looking to parody anything here. They wanted to tell a genuine story and set it in a genuine world.
Money.
Yes, there are of course outlandish characters, but for the most part this is a really sincere story.
Shoot you too. And I would've. You'd shown up.
I was there.
You weren't. You left town.
So at first Arthur seems to fall into the same anti-hero mode, robbing banks, aggressively collecting money from debtors, arguing with locals and taking what isn't his. But as the story unfolds, there are genuine moments of caring. Arthur isn't looking to take from others so that he can be bigger, better and in charge. He's just taking what his family, the other gang members, and especially the young children and women within the group need to survive.
Simplicity take their toll on a woman.
Oh no, I didn't mean
No,
it.
I know.
The gang are struggling in this new world. A world which is changing from the freedom of frontier life in which America was founded to a more structured and some would argue, more civilized America which we would recognize today.
Which is an improvement on the last time you saw me.
Mom! Mom! Meredith!
This changing world really reflects within Arthur. By mirroring the change in the world, really brings home and emphasizes the change within Arthur himself. It really adds weight to his character.
Oh, thank you. Here, let me give you this.
Oh, that's okay, ma'am. You just keep her warm and keep her safe.
At about halfway through the game, Arthur develops an aggressive illness, one which he will not survive.
You got tuberculosis.
At first, I assumed there would be the typical ex machina moment, where right at the climax of the story, a cure would be found and Arthur would ride off into the sunset like every great western.
Progressive disease. You'll be...
But as this story arc developed, it became more and more obvious that this was not going away. Arthur was only going to get more sick. The question was, what would kill him first, the sickness or his enemies?
Country club in California. No, it's not possible.
As Arthur battles with his sickness, his former relationships within the gang become more and more fragile.
Back a minute. Pinkerton show up.
We've been on the run since you two fools went crazy in Blackwater.
His mentor and friend Dutch begins to look less and less like the savior of the group and more like the catalyst of its downfall, making more and more aggressive and foolish decisions and put more of the gang in danger in favor of power and money, all under the guise of getting away from this changing world.
Sloppier than the town drunk, and they know who we are and where we are and what we're doing.
Way I see it, best thing we can do is let the week go. Move on, get our money, and start over.
Choosing the antagonist from the first game as Arthur's mentor really adds an interesting twist. We know that things do not end well for Dutch, and that he will become the source of much pain and strife. Making him a sympathetic and likable character at the beginning of Red Dead 2, especially as seen through Arthur's eyes, is compelling and extremely interesting, which makes his eventual downfall much more compelling.
We all knew, sooner or later.
I think this is really the story which Rockstar was trying to tell with Red Dead 2, that life is about change. It will never stop and is inevitable.
Closing in on us. Dutch! It won't be long before they find where we're hiding out now.
As Arthur and Dutch can show, life will throw all sorts of obstacles at you. Fortune, the law, sickness, family, all of these will change your perspective on life. Our choice is whether we embrace this change.
He was a good man, my Jakey.
And, even if it shortens our lives, use it to help those around us and those we love, like Arthur chose to do. Or do we struggle against it, like Dutch?
We was always sweet on one another.
Fighting every step of the way, regardless of who we love that may get in the way. I think the story of Red Dead 2 can be summed up like this.
They turned me into a monster, Arthur.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Pure.
Yes, that is from The Dark Knight.
I ain't even got that.
Thanks for watching, see you next time.
Aside from my Jake, you're the best man I've known.
I know the company you keep. The competition ain't too fierce. We should get away from here.